All right, if anyone was at captain's camp, you might recall I was teaching and my drink fell over mid-talk, and then I went to pick it up, and then I dropped it again, and I went to grab it, and I dropped it again, and then my lesson plan was ruined. So this time I have a cup that actually can hold the liquid in, so we are nice and safe. All right, hey, so we're going to dive right into this because I got a lot to cover. And not a lot of time. But there's this thing where when we are around something a lot, we get used to it and we take it for granted. We're familiar with it. We don't care all that much because it's so common to us. Like one thing that is fascinating to me is there's actually a whole bunch of movies and TV shows that have been shot right here in Hutto as well as in Taylor. Let's just round of applause for shooting movies. Hutto and Taylor, yeah. Woo! So, for example, a little over 10 years ago, they shot a Transformers movie in Taylor. And so with the one with Mark Wahlberg, there's a whole battle that took place in Taylor. They blew a bunch of stuff up. Mark Wahlberg was hanging out there. And then also there was a TV show 20 years ago called Friday Night Lights. And there's they shot it here and in Pflugerville, and there's a shot in the opening credits of the scene where you see a stadium, and there's an HH on the stadium. What do you think HH stands for? You guys are good at this. Like in the show, right in the opening credits, is Hutto Stadium, the old version before it had the Jumbotron. That's I'm thinking still about Transformers still, but they shot it here. Another one. This one's a little bit darker. They shot a whole bunch of multiple Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies right in Hutto and in Taylor. And so I have a bunch of friends that are really into horror movies, and so they'll come to town, and I'll drive them to some of the scenes and stuff. Like the road 685 that runs through, they shot a huge chunk of the first one of these movies on 685. You can even see the street sign in the movie and everything like that. So I'll take my friends to the shooting locations. And inevitably, every time I do this, there's other people from out of town also doing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre tour. And we'll run into other people. Like one time I was at one of these shooting locations, and we witnessed a felony take place. There's a house that's in the movie that's really famous. There's a barbed wire fence around the house. There's cameras. There's a sign that says, "If you trespass, we'll chainsaw you to death." I might have added that last little bit. But there's warning signs. And we watched someone jump through the fence, commit a felony, and get out of there because there are people so excited to witness these shooting locations from these movies. And I'm guessing none of you who live here in Hutto or Taylor or Round Rock or Pflugerville have ever went to any of these shooting locations intentionally. They just took it for granted. You don't know all of these places that are super exciting for other people. It's amazing for other people. They're so excited to take pictures in these places, and you live right here and just kind of take it for granted. And there's this tendency that we just kind of get used to things and we stop being amazed by them. So today we're starting a series on grace, which this is an amazing thing that we take for granted. But we're so used to it, we sing about it. Even the song Amazing Grace, it is the most sung English language hymn. And one of the songs we sang in Big Church today had the line, Amazing Grace. And we say it all the time. At funerals, we sing the song. It's in movies. But we don't pause to think, what makes this thing amazing? We don't pause to think, why is grace amazing? We take it for granted because we're so familiar with it. So we want to unpack what makes grace amazing. As we kick things off, I'm going to define two different words. One of them is grace, and one of them is a very similar, related word that we're going to dive into. So our first word we're going to define is mercy. Mercy is not getting punishment you deserve. So you deserve to be punished. You've done something wrong, and you don't get the punishment. Second, grace. Grace is getting something you don't deserve. See the difference? Mercy, don't get bad thing. Grace, get good thing. Or to kind of put a little bit of skin on this story, kind of make it a little bit more tangible to define our terms a little bit. Let's say, for example, random person, my son Liam, is playing with matches and he burns my house down. So we got a picture of that. He burned my house down. Very, very unfortunate. And so I'm just like that. I'm hardcore. I'm standing there posing for a picture because I'm a narcissist. House is burning down. Great opportunity for a selfie to post on the internet.
You're gonna die.
Yeah, but at least you'll get a great picture out of it. So Liam burns the house down. Mercy says, hey man, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not going to punish you for burning the house down. So we got a picture of this, me. That's Liam. If you know him, that's what a perfect picture of Liam. Mercy, you're not getting punished. Grace is not only are you not getting punished, here's a bag of tacos. So there it is. Look at him with his taco or container of tacos. So mercy, not receiving punishment you deserve. Grace, receiving something that you have not earned. For this case, tacos, or here's another picture with Liam that looks just like him. Absolutely a real picture. But to understand why grace is so amazing, we're going to go all the way back to the beginning of the story. We're going to be in Genesis 1 for just a little bit, looking at God's creation. So back all the way in verse number 1 in the Bible, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Jump forward a couple verses. It says, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw that the light, and it was good. So if you've ever gone out at nighttime and looked at the stars, they're amazing. And if you've ever researched space, it's actually awe-inducing. When you see the vast size of space, you can't comprehend it because it's so much bigger in scale and size than our brain is designed to comprehend. And sometimes we can start to take stars for granted because we see them every night. But if you go camping and you get out in the wilderness, or in my case, we used to do a mission trip to the Navajo Nation, and so we'd be way out in the middle of nowhere. And where you're at, the sky is just so big. And you just go out and you look at the stars, and it was incredible. Just reminded of this awesome creation that God made. Continues on. It says in verse 10, God called the dry ground land, and he gathered the waters. He called it the seas, and God saw all of it, and it was good. So this earth that we're on, God has created this absolutely gorgeous planet. So much so that there's people that commit their life to just traveling. Most people have some sort of bucket list of all the places they want to go on the earth, all the places that they want to explore. And if you've ever been to the mountains, the first time you go to the mountains, if you don't live near them, it's wow, this is wild. Both of my parents are from Denver, and so you just go to Denver and you look one direction and it's the Rocky Mountains, and it's wow, they just see that all the time? We've got one hill in Hutto, and it's the dump right over there. That's our one hill. Wow, look at the Rockies of Hutto, the dump. When you're in Denver, it's just gorgeous. But there's the ocean, and there's people that want to travel under the water to explore this incredible creation. If you've ever been in the snowy mountains, even contrast with just regular mountains, it's gorgeous. He created this planet. There's an endless checklist of places you might want to see that are absolutely gorgeous. And it continues on, verse 25. God made wild animals according to their kinds, and their livestock according to their kind, and all the creatures that move along the ground according to their kinds. And God saw it, and it was good. So we've got the stars that just filled with awe and splendor. We've got this gorgeous planet. And then we have all of this diverse, fun creatures filling the planet. So much so that we created zoos so we can take all these animals from across the planet and make it so that we can actually go to a place and experience all of these creatures that God has placed everywhere. And there's so many of them. You can just learning about all those strange little quirks about different animals and the way that they look. or going to the aquarium, going to SeaWorld, and just seeing all of these magnificent creatures that God has made. Like for us, we're like a dog family. We've always had dogs. As soon as we got married, we got a dog named Lars. There's a whole story about why we named the dog Lars. And we took Lars to the pet store. This is like year number 1 of marriage. And Lars wasn't fully potty trained. He's walking through the pet store where you can bring your dog in. And he went to the bathroom on the floor in the store. Hashtag relatable. We've all been there. We've all done that. But so like, I pick him up, run him outside to have him go to the bathroom. Goes to the bathroom. I walk back inside. And you can put this next picture up here. While I was outside, Lars is the little one laying down. While he was going to the bathroom, Jennifer spotted, they have those a lot of times in pet stores, they're selling dogs or trying to give dogs away. She spots this guy right here, this stud right here, Bo. And in the time it took me just to take the other dog outside to go to the bathroom, she spotted him, tracked him down, bought him, and is signing paperwork to keep him, and signing it in blood, actually. It was pretty extreme. And so I went in just to buy dog food, and we left with 2 dogs because we just love dogs so much. And he's a great guy. Love that guy. But loved animals. And then one time, this was a few years back, we were at a Comic-Con. A lot of times I lead panels and stuff at Comic-Cons and stuff, so I took the whole family, and at one of them, they had an animal section with kangaroos. So we can put this picture up here. So that you could it was like a ridiculous amount. It was like $25 to have your picture taken with the kangaroo, and we're like, man, how many times are we going to be able to put a kangaroo in Chloe's? Let's do it. So Chloe's holding the kangaroo. It's worth it. Because these creatures are amazing, and we've never had the opportunity to hold a kangaroo before. I kid you not. So Chloe's holding the kangaroo. Our daughter, Karis, who at the time is 3, walks up, and she goes to touch the kangaroo, and the lady goes, no, you didn't pay. Step back. I don't think I've ever had a moment in my life where I was so close to snapping and just murdering a person. Murder's bad. However, what's worse, murdering a person or telling Karis she can't touch a kangaroo? Which is ridiculous. Telling Karis no. But so they literally Karis is 3 years old. Karis can't hold a kangaroo, and they wanted me to pay $25 for Karis to be able to touch a kangaroo. I was mad. But the whole point. We love these amazing creatures that God has filled this planet with. There's so much diversity to them, and we love them. But they're only good. And there's something in creation that's even better. It says in Genesis 1:26, "Then God said, 'Let us make man in our image, after our likeness.'" There's couple words in this passage. One is image, one is likeness. The word image in Hebrew is tezelism. Horribly mispronounced. I actually don't speak Hebrew. It means a representative figure, a statue or an idol. So the king would make a statue of himself to represent himself, a work of art to represent something. Image. That is the word used when it says image of God. And another one is likeness, which is dithmos, a resemblance in the shape of a figure resembling a model of something. Once again, a thing created, a piece of art created in the image of something to represent something else. When God was making creation, he wanted to put something unique in creation in his likeness. And the word used for it is artistic language. When God made a self-portrait, it was mankind. You, amongst all creation, are uniquely made in the image of God to reflect God in a distinct way in all of creation. God made the stars to show his greatness. He made this beautiful planet to display his beauty, and he filled us with it to reflect him in a specific and unique way. We are here to reflect his glory and put his image on the earth. And we're here with a purpose. It says in verse 28, and God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. So a lot of times people think God's the ultimate killjoy. He's not a lot of fun. The first command in the Bible is to be fruitful and multiply. I don't know if you know how that works. If you have any questions about where babies come from, Brent would love to answer all of your questions after church. And it's just go and ask him. First command in the Bible, it's a fun one. Jennifer and I try and fulfill that command all the time. But God created us.
I will leave.
God created what? We're married. God created us in his image. He said, fill the earth with my likeness. Fill the earth with my likeness. We are here to make God known across the entire earth, to spread his glory and his greatness. That is what we are here to do. Make him known, make much of him and his glory. So he created a vast, magnificent creation. He made a beautiful planet for us to live on. He filled it with a diverse set of creatures. He uniquely made you in his image, and it was very good. You are his self-portrait. Unfortunately, that is not where the story ends. There's a little bit more to the story. We broke creation, and we broke ourselves. Now we're going to be in Ephesians 2. It says in Ephesians 2, verse 1, as for you, who were all created in God's image to reflect his glory, you are here to make much of God, to make him known. You were dead in your transgressions and sins. Transgressions being you went outside of the parameters of what you were supposed to do. You did things you weren't supposed to do. It says in verse 3, all of us lived amongst them at one time, gratifying the cravings of our flesh and following the desires and thoughts. We were here to spread his glory and be his image, but instead, every single one of us have sinned. Every single one of us have rebelled against God. We are supposed to be his self-portrait, his masterpiece, and instead we rebel. We do what we want. In our children's ministry, when we do our Bible clubs, we define sin as anything we say or do that displeases God. Yeah, see, you guys could preach this sermon. Sin is anything we think, say, or do that displeases God. That's like a definition so simple that we teach it to children, but it's still a good theologically correct way to define sin. But a lot of times what we do is we do the comparison game, because we go like, yeah, I mean, I've sinned, but have you seen the people in my school? They're way worse than me. There was a guy, I'll call him Jake Gill. I'm making the name up because I don't want to, because I'm going to say only bad things about him. There's this guy I went to high school with, and he was my point of comparison guy, that like, he constantly talked about all of the hard drugs that he was doing. He was suspended multiple times, and he bragged about working at a fast food place and all of the bodily fluids that he put in the foods of the customers. I did not eat at that place ever again because I knew that guy worked there, and they let him work there. So this guy, that like everything he did, I was like, ugh. Like I would compare myself to him and go, I'm doing pretty good. Or of course the ultimate example is we go, well, I mean, I made mistakes, but I'm not Hitler. Like we do that one too. We go, like, sure, but here's the deal. God doesn't grade on a curve. God's not like, all right, the bottom 25% this and the good 25. No, God's not grading on a curve. And to go for a more theologically deeper definition of sin, the literal word sin means to miss the mark. It's an archery term. The idea of you took the shot and you did not hit the bullseye. I had this great idea that I was going to actually bring a bow and arrow. I was going to have, in the middle of it, you'd hold the bullseye, and I'd shoot at it, and I'd miss, and I'd hit someone else. And then Jennifer told me, shooting kids with an arrow in the middle of a sermon is memorable, but it's still a bad idea. So we actually sidelined that idea and decided to not kill anyone during this particular sermon. But the definition of sin is to miss the mark. What is the target? Being the image of God. You are supposed to reflect God. And anytime you cease to do that, anytime you step outside of that, that is sin. We used to have these bracelets that would say WWJD, what would Jesus do? It's actually a pretty good little criteria for defining how I should live my life. We are meant to be the perfect image of God. And we constantly, consistently miss the mark and step outside of that. Lying. The one I always go back to. If we could see how you talk to your parents at home when no one's around, would you be okay with that, or would you be horribly embarrassed? The lying, the gossip, all the things that you do that you know are bad. Here's the deal. God's standard, we have serve a holy God, and the word holy means set apart, without blemish. Without fault, a white shirt without a single spot on it. Absolute perfection. You have to hit the bullseye every single time. That's what God expects. If you miss the target once, you've failed. You've broken it. You've stepped outside the bounds. Like, one of the things that truly disturbed me the first time I read this, but the FDA, if we can put this next graphic up here, the FDA has standards for what is the appropriate and legally allowed amount of rat poop and cyanide to be in your food. Now, my thought was the acceptable amount of rat poop in my food is none. Acceptable amount of cyanide poison is zero. I want none of that in my food. The FDA is like, yeah, it's bad, but you can just have a little bit in there. There's an acceptable amount of poop and cyanide that can be in your food. With God, there is no acceptable amount of sin. Any amount ruins it. And so you think we're made in the image of God to be his perfect image. And instead, we've ruined his masterpiece, or we've defaced his masterpiece. And what's supposed to be his self-portrait that reflects his image, every single one of us, we have defaced the image of God. And if you see me, like my wife working on a painting, and I mess it up, and you go, whoa, and you every time I do this illustration, someone's like, I thought she was going to hit you when you did that. That stomach-turning feeling that you get, just imagine how much worse it is that you are God's self-portrait and you sin and you deface, you put blemish on the image of God that's meant to be his reflection on this earth. And still, every day we sin. It's not meant to be this way. The pain that you felt in this life is probably because of someone else's sin. Some of you have had to go through divorces. Some of you have parents that have addiction issues. Some of you have been bullied at school. People have said incredibly hurtful things to you. Let's flip this. Some of you have said incredibly hurtful things to other people. You have made choices that have crushed the souls of other people. That pain that you felt, that I felt, isn't meant to be. It's the sin that causes the pain in this world that we feel. And it says in verse 3, all of us have lived amongst them at one time, gratifying the cravings of the flesh, following the desires of the thoughts. Like the rest, we were by nature deserving of wrath. The wages of sin is death. What should be the cost of defacing God's self-portrait? There has to be a consequence, and by doing so, we have become objects of wrath, separated from God. And if you die separated from God, you don't go to heaven, you go to hell. We are here, like we have a God that made us to be in his image, and we've defaced it, and there's a consequence for that. But once again, luckily, that is not the end of the story. The passage continues on, and it says in verse 4, but God. Two words that might be two of the most important words in your life. I've always wanted to do a sermon series called The Best Buts in the Bible, and everyone always tells me, like, actually, Sean, not a great title for a sermon series. However, this is a really good but right here. But God, because of his great love for us, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ even when we were dead in our transgressions. We constantly underestimate how bad our sin is. We think, yeah, I mean, I've made some mistakes. I need a little help. I need a little guidance. Like, no. He says that you are spiritually dead. Dead people don't need advice. They need resurrection. Got a little video for you, just kind of like illustrate this. We'll just sit on this for a moment. That's it. I thought about just like falling over on stage, but I'm a little bit short on time and I might have hurt myself. But the Bible says that you are dead spiritually, not struggling a little bit, having a hard time. You are dead spiritually. Sometimes people use these analogies of it's like you're struggling in the water, you're starting to drown, and Jesus reaches out to pull you out of the water. That's not the word that's used. It's not that you're struggling and you need a lifeguard to grab you and pull you out. It's that you've already drowned. You're dead. And you need CPR to be brought back to life. For this next picture. Sarah told me this was a good idea. But it's the whole idea of you are dead and you need to be brought back to life. You can skip off of that one. So I wonder if that one's a little bit too far. But that's what happened after the fire. I had to be brought back to life. But you are dead spiritually. It's not that you're part of the process. This is why when people are like, well, there's good people and there's bad people and you have to do enough good things. No. If you're spiritually dead, you cannot do good things. You can't participate in it because you are dead. You need someone else to bring you back to life. That is what the gospel is. That is the good news in all of this. I was spiritually dead. There was nothing that I could do. I failed. I defaced the image of God. And God, who is rich in love and mercy, sent his son to live the life that you could not live, to live the life that I could not live. And he perfectly was the image of God on earth. He perfectly captured what it means to reflect God's glory on this earth. But Jesus came to pay the price for your sin and die the death that you deserved for your sin. And he took all the sin on himself and on the cross paid the price for all of that sin. And with the cross, grace turns a mess into something beautiful. It was supposed to be like my death. I was supposed to pay that price. And Jesus did it for me on the cross. This weekend, we remember and celebrate the death and the resurrection of Christ, where Jesus took our sins on himself and conquered sin and death. Jesus physically rose from the grave so that you spiritually could be brought back to life. Now let's loop back, and we're going to look at those words we looked at the beginning. Mercy means not getting what we deserve. And it says a biblical mercy would be God withholding the judgment of our sin that you deserve. I'm the one that sinned. I'm the one that deserved hell and God's wrath. But what happened? Jesus did that. That's the mercy of God. I don't experience the wrath. And then there's biblical grace. God giving us salvation and a relationship we did not earn. My sin sent God to the cross. but he loved us and he paid the price. That's what makes grace amazing. That the cross, that we defaced his image and he turned it into something beautiful. I don't get what I deserve, wrath. I get God and forgiveness instead. And it says in verse 8, what do we do with this? How do we receive this? For it is by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works. I didn't work my way into it. I sinned my way into the problem, but it is God's work on the cross that saves me by faith. We don't save ourselves. We don't fix ourselves. We put our faith in Jesus. And that's how we receive that gift. And it's as simple as this. If you've never put your faith in Jesus, it's, I admit that I'm a sinner, that I've done wrong things. I was made in his image and I have rebelled against that. I know I have sinned. And it's believing that Jesus died on the cross for your sins. Like, I messed up. I can't fix myself. Jesus died on the cross for my sins. And then it's choosing to receive that free gift of salvation, trusting in him, choosing Jesus as Lord and the Savior of my life. That's what it means to put your faith in Jesus. It's not about fixing yourself, cleaning yourself up. That never mattered. You can't clean yourself up because you're spiritually dead. It was all about what he did for you on the cross to make you alive. If you've never put your faith in Jesus, I'm going to close out with a prayer. Pray along with me, and then afterwards, talk to a leader, talk to whoever brought you with you. But this is the message that changes lives.